So what we're going to talk about now are false assumptions in game. A lot of guys, when they go out and they practice meeting women, there's a lot of, limiting beliefs or misconceptions that they believe about meeting girls, about doing game, right? There's things that you may believe when it comes to you meeting women and going out in a club or a bar or on the street and approaching a girl. There's things you probably believe about that aren't true. You probably believe there's things that you have to do or things you have to say or things that women may think that are not actually true. So in this video, we're going to break down those beliefs. We're going to break down the limiting beliefs. We're going to break down the false assumptions that are perpetuated by the mainstream community. And we're going to talk about how you can instead reframe those so you can win. And when I say the mainstream community, I mean a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of the instructors on YouTube, a lot of the famous guys talk about all these different principles and these different beliefs and these different ideas. But in actuality, there's some truth to it in different small situations with certain specific people. But generally, this is not how you get success. A lot of the theories that are taught are made to get more money. They're made to perpetuate the business and things like that. But I'm going to give it to you straight here. I'm going to talk about my personal experiences and I'm going to back it up with real fucking facts, with real things that have happened. There's a lot of misconceptions about what works with women, a lot of misconceptions about what works when you're going out and doing game, okay? And we're going to break those down right here. So the first false assumption about game, and again, when I say game, I mean, going out and approaching a random woman. I don't mean meeting a woman in your social circle or meeting a girl online. When I say doing game, I'm talking about actually approaching a girl. The first misconception is that you need to be in state to get success, okay? First misconception is that you need to be in state in order to get success. What does it mean, be in state? So in the mainstream pickup community, a lot of guys talk about being in state constantly, being the kind of guy that's constantly being the giver of good emotions, being the guy that's always feeling great, being the guy that's living his life in state, right? A lot of guys talk about being the guy that can constantly bring the party. Like I was out when I was younger and I was practicing a lot of these principles. I remember one of the biggest things that I was taught to do from one of my mentors who was in this community was always be the guy who could make the girl feel the party. It's like always make the girl feel the party at any moment, right? And what happened is I'd go out, maybe I felt a little anxiety or I didn't feel great, and what I'd do, I'd try to make the girl feel the party. And it was just this weird false dynamic because I was trying to be someone that I wasn't. Now, at the time, I didn't know that. I actually was like, no, this shouldn't be me. Like, I shouldn't be the guy who's stifled. I should be bringing the girl to the party. I should be bringing the party at all times. I should be the guy who's able to give out good emotions to everyone, constantly spike the girl's emotions, and be the guy who lives his life in state. What does that even mean? The only state that you need to have is a state of relaxation. And we're going to be, talking about that later, especially in the advanced section on how to relate to women. But what are women actually attracted to? What are women attracted to? We talked about this early with the fuckboy dating principles when it comes to what women want, right? What do women want? Women are attracted to masculine energy. Women are attracted to a man who is grounded and a man who can truly present himself. A man who's truly confident with who he is. Now, I'm not going to tell you just be confident, right? Or else this wouldn't help you. That's what the inner identity module was about. The previous module was about, learning how to build confidence and actionable steps you can take to really find out who you truly are and where you want to be. But here, from a game perspective, a lot of guys overlook that. A lot of guys think that it's about how can I be constantly in this flow where I'm constantly giving out value to everyone. That's a huge thing as well. It's like, let me be the guy who gives value. Like, what does that even mean to constantly give value to everyone? Like, the way I like to see it, I'm like, fuck giving value. I'm doing me. I'm doing my own thing. I'm not trying to give value to everyone around me. Like, that's not actually what leads me to having success. What actually leads you to having success? Well, the first thing is being attractive. Being attractive is more important than being in state. Being attractive is more important than being in state. Do you think that if Justin Bieber were to go into a club and no one knew he was Justin Bieber, but he's just an attractive, cool dude, if he went into a club and he tried to talk to a girl, do you think he would have to be in state in order to get that girl? Right? If Dan Bilzerian, let's say he didn't have all the money, let's say he was just Dan Bilzerian, a cool guy, no one knew he was the Dan Bilzerian, he walked into a club. You guys have seen the videos of Dan Bilzerian, he's pretty fucking cool dude, super relaxed, super, again, you want to call it alpha, I guess, attractive man. If he went into a club, would Dan Bilzerian have to be in state to get a girl like him? No, because what state is doing is it's compensating. When you get into state, you're compensating for something that you feel you don't have. You're saying, by getting into state, what you're doing is essentially saying, I'm not enough as I am. I need to work to get to this point in order to get the girl. I need to work up here to be in this little high in order to get the girl. When you get into state, what you're doing is you're training yourself to deflect tension. Like we're filming this here in Miami. I was out in Miami the other day. I was running a 4-day weekend intensive. And one of my former students, he was kind of struggling with this idea here. He was out and he was trying to wing my video assistant. And he was talking and he was like, "I'm not in state, bro. I can't do it. I need to go and I need to act crazy." Right? And he was kind of like, he didn't say those exact words. He kind of referred to like other stuff, but he was kind of freaking out because he was like, "I'm not in state." And I kind of talked to him later and I was like, "Dude, don't forget we went over this on program. Like, if you're not in state, that's fine. You don't need to be in state. Be you." Like, what is a woman attracted to? A woman is attracted to a guy that is actually himself. What is a guy that's actually himself? A guy who can handle tension. When you're a guy who can handle tension with a woman, when you're a guy who does not deflect tension, when you're a guy that can say, "Okay, I don't need to act a certain way to make this situation feel better," that's when you're going to be winning. The fuckboy principles of dating negate state. They go against getting into state. I am my best at game when I'm either in my head or not in my head, but I'm comfortable with how I feel. That's when I'm doing my best game. The second I say, "Okay, time to get the party going and try to make these girls feel like there's a party happening," and I don't feel that party happening inside, there's going to be an incongruence and an imbalance, and the girls can sense that. Women are way better at reading subcommunication than men are. They're way better. Again, unless you learn this shit, sure, but generally women are way better. So they can sense when you're trying to do something. When you get into state, here's what else happens. When you try to get into state and force getting into state, getting into this emotional high, what happens is you're putting on a front. So let's say you do accidentally get laid, like you do here and there sleep with a girl. Let's say you're more attractive and you can get laid here and there. A lot of times you're not going to be able to keep those girls around as well as you would if you were just being yourself. The reason why is because when you're getting into state, you're putting on a front. So you sleep with the girl and she finds out who you really are. She kind of just senses, this guy did this to sleep with me. He was in state to sleep with me. Now he's just him. What's going to happen? The girl's no longer going to want you. So what the key is just learning how to be you and have that you be attractive, right? How to strip away all the layers that are making you unattractive or strip away all the layers the fronts that you're putting on that are making you not you and actually become you. Where you're not affected by tension, where there's a tense situation or there's tension with girls, you don't react to it. That is the real state. It's the absence of actually trying to get into party mode, trying to give value. Okay? Another principle that I want to break down, another false assumption about game, is that the more you go out, the better. Right? A lot of guys believe that the more you go out and practice game, the better you're going to get. Now, I want to state this. Remember we talked earlier about immersion periods. That's why I said there are immersion periods where you go out a fuck ton, but the general principle is not going out a lot makes you better. It's how you actually practice game. Right? When you go out a lot constantly and you're just droning on, it creates an unhealthy lifestyle and creates unnatural behaviors. Normal guys who just have sex with a lot of girls, and again I say normal, I mean guys that are not learning this, not that this is abnormal necessarily, but that's what I mean when I say normal. Normal guys who are just like, fuck it, I don't really even prioritize this shit. Guys that are not doing that, guys that are just going out whenever they want and get laid, they actually don't go out a lot to try to get laid. They don't make that a priority. Now, I think that going out and practicing success with women is good. I do think that's good. I think you should do it. But it's not true that the more you go out and the more you take action, the more you buy more programs, for example, the more you invest in coaching, the more you go out and stay in the club till 4 a.m. every night, that the better you're going to get. I know guys that have literally gone out for 2 years straight and have never gotten better. I know guys like that. I have a friend who literally, my previous business partner actually, he's a great example. He literally went out for 3 years or 2 years straight and never really grew in his game. Then we started and he took a program with me, and then we became business partners, and his game kind of exploded and he changed, right? Because he was practicing the right way. Not because I'm anything, but it's because he was able to implement proper game concepts. So you, my friend, who are watching this, don't think that just because you go out 5 days a week, you're going to get good. Going out and going through the rough, complicated, tough, miserable journey does not make you better. That's not how you get good with women. Going and fighting through hard misery and saying, I need to go out more, I need to, invest in 3 boot camps from whatever company, like that doesn't make you better. That doesn't. Again, what makes you better is you being yourself and you learning game correctly. So sure, you've taken a step to get better by taking this program, by buying the Fuckboy frame. You've taken a step to get better. But in actuality, this in itself is not going to get you good. Buying more of my courses, let's say I come out with another course in another year. Buying that course in itself is not going to get you better. Like buying that course, taking more action. Let's say that I tell you here, you need to go out 5 days a week, and you go out for 5 days a week for a whole year. That's not going to get you better. What gets you better is what you do in the time you're out. I'd rather go out 2 days and meet women, but practice game really perfectly every time. That doesn't mean get results every time, but I practice it the right way, and we'll talk about that later. You practice it the right way each time you go out. then you'll get success, rather than the guy who goes out 5 days a week and does the same thing every time and roams around New York City or Miami or London or wherever he's Sweden or Gothenburg, Switzerland, wherever he's going, right? And just practices approaching women mindlessly. That kind of thing is not attractive to women. That doesn't create a healthy lifestyle. So the more you go out, it doesn't equal getting better. A lot of people in the community say the guys who go out and approach the most are the guys who do the best. Fuck no. The guys who approach like 5 girls get laid. Like when I go out, I kind of mentioned this, I approach literally no more than 5 girls most of the time. And I don't get laid every time. Honestly, I'd be lying if I said I got laid every time I went out. A good amount of the time I do, I end up pulling a girl home. But a lot of times, every time pretty much, I'll set up dates. I'll have numbers and I'll end up sleeping with girls from that time I went out. Right? And this is what creates consistency. This is what creates, we'll talk about it later, that flow of leads that I'm constantly texting, those girls I'm constantly texting, because I'm doing the right things when I'm out. It's not about the time I spend. It's about what I do while I'm out. What do I do with my time, right? Now, another false conception about going out and meeting women is something called the hook point, okay? A lot of guys in pickup teach that you get to a hook point, and then once you get to that hook point, you can do certain things in your interactions. That's not true. There's no such thing as a hook point with a girl. Technically there is, sure, but it's not the same thing that's talked about in pickup, in traditional, guys who are going out and doing pickup. There's no hook point with a girl. What I'm saying is this. So a girl, when you first meet her, is attracted to you early or she's not attracted to you at all. Girls are very similar to men when it comes to how they're attracted. It's not about the looks for women, though. Looks do play a part in it. Like if you're a good-looking guy who's like an amazing-looking dude, you're going to have a better advantage over a guy who's unattractive, sure. But beyond the look kind of gets you that little window to actually meet her. It gives you a little bit of more time with her. But aside from the look that you might have, the girl's going to be attracted to you based on what you present to her emotionally in the very beginning of the interaction. Think about it this way. Have you ever gone out and had a girl who completely didn't like you at all and was like, get away from me, and then you did more game to her? Like you just started talking and eventually that girl liked you? No. Because a girl decides if she likes you right at the beginning. She decides this is an attractive man within the first 30 seconds. There's no hook point. It's not like you do game and you build up to this attraction. You can't do that. Attraction is there at the beginning and it will always die out if you don't do the right things. Attraction will die out if you don't know how to maintain it. So the goal is to maintain attraction. It is not to get to the hook point. The girl knows from the beginning if she would fuck you or not. Like the girl subconsciously knows that she would fuck you or not. You can't build attraction and make her more attracted to you because, again, more game doesn't equal a result. More game will only cause you to lose attraction. What the purpose of game is, the purpose of doing game right, is to do less game, come from the being frame, not the doing frame, but do less game and maintain attraction, right? That's how you're going to be getting success. Now, it's important that you understand when I say the girl's attracted to you right from the beginning, some girls don't always just show attraction like this. Some girls are not, a lot of girls, I wouldn't say most, but a good amount of girls are not just going to drop their panties and say, fuck me right now. But there are signs that girls will give you if they're attracted to you right when you meet them, right? There are signs, and we're going to talk about that later, but there are definitely signs girls will give you when you first come up to them. When you first come up, you'll know, is this girl attracted to me or is she not? And the infield footage will show, you'll see that the girl, you do know that she's attracted to you the second you come up and say hi. But that's a complete myth that you have to do more game to get to the hook point. You don't need to do more game to get to a hook point. Like doing more game is only going to cause the girl to be turned off by you. The more you do game, the more you put on the front, the more you try, the more you go into that, doing frame, the less you're going to have the being frame, the less of you that's going to come forth, and the more the game is going to try to do things for you. And that's when you're going to be losing because the girl knows that's not you. She knows it is a fucking front. Okay. Now, another assumption, another misconception about game that a lot of guys have is that you have to talk to everybody. And this was strongly perpetuated by one of the kind of the founders of the mainstream community in recent history. And he talks a lot about, being the guy who's constantly social and talking to everybody when he goes out to get into state. Now, this is not true. You don't need to talk to everyone when you go out. When I go out and meet women, I usually do not talk to everybody. In fact, I don't like to talk to people because I have introvert tendencies. Even though I'm an extrovert, I don't go out of my way to go out and meet people. Like, I don't actually do that. I'm an extrovert with introvert tendencies. So I'm not going to go out and be like, hey, let me be the life of the party. Actually, I like going to clubs occasionally because I like getting laid and I just like the music and the vibe, but I'm not the kind of guy that's going to try to host tons of parties at his place and do all that kind of stuff. It can be fun here and there to get laid, but I'm not going out like that. So I'm not trying to talk to everybody when I go out because it's not necessary. That's not what helps you get laid. A lot of guys, again, they think that talking to everybody is going to warm them up to get into this state. But don't forget, when you're trying to get into state, you're trying to put on a mask. You're trying to compensate for someone that you're not. You're trying to be someone that you're not. So relying on state is something that you shouldn't do. And part of that state is talking to everybody, feeling the need to be the guy who's going around giving value to every person. Like, I had one student, and the first day of program, he had been following this, this mainstream community teacher. And again, this teacher talks a lot about, being the guy who can give value to everyone and talk to everyone like, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? From the very beginning of the night, he was constantly in set talking to guys and girls. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with this if you're networking, but it's just a natural behavior. So my student goes out to the club, and we were out together, and he starts saying hi to just random people, just like, hey, what's up? Giving high fives and being the friendly, laughing guy. And I instantly stopped him because he would go to girls, and when he goes to the girl, he's like, I have this social proof, even though you don't have social proof because you're actually a nobody unless you're a fucking promoter or you know people in the club or you're genuinely a cool guy. But if you're like an average guy who's going around saying hi to people, no, that's not attractive behavior. So I asked him, I was like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you going around saying hi to people? And he was like, because I'm building my social proof. And every time he'd go up and talk to a girl that he actually wanted to sleep with, the girl would just look at him like you literally were just like high-fiving a random guy and meeting and saying hi to him for no reason. Right? So it's kind of like, it's that, again, that incongruency. That's not who he was. He's not that kind of guy. Now, if you're a guy who's actually a social guy and loves being the life of the party, and you can get 5-6 people around you and just socializing with everyone and bring girls into that when you're out in the club, that's fucking amazing. But that is much different than going out and saying hi to everybody for the purpose of saying hi to everybody so you can get into state, right? That's just not attractive behavior. Don't do that. Cut that out of your game. That's another misconception about game. Another thing I want to talk about, and we're going to kind of change the tone of this video, is personal limiting beliefs. This is kind of the deeper layer of the false assumptions. A lot of guys have limiting beliefs. A lot of guys have beliefs about, what is limiting belief? There's two kinds of limiting beliefs. There's an actual belief that you have that's true, and then there's created beliefs, okay? So a limiting belief is essentially something that you believe about yourself, whether it's true or not, something that you believe about yourself that you tell yourself means you can't have success, right? It's like something you believe about yourself that you tell yourself in your mind, because of this quality that I have or because of this feature about me, I'm going to struggle and I can't have success. Okay? Now, I'm not going to be the guy to tell you that every single belief that you have about yourself is wrong. Like, no, they're all false. Sure, I'm fucking amazing. I don't know. There's no such thing as amazing. What does that even mean? But there are some beliefs that you may have that are true. Okay? Things, for example, beliefs that are like actual limiting beliefs are things that will hamper your results, right? Or things that you can probably overcome. That's the funny part, that a lot of these actual limiting beliefs are things you can actually overcome. But an example of a limiting belief could be maybe a guy who's severely overweight, and just can barely move and is like heaving and breathing and has terrible fashion sense. And he's like, I'm unattractive, so girls are not going to like me. Yeah, that's an actual belief. That's a limiting belief, sure, but that's an actual true belief. But how do you handle that? You overcome it. Because if you're a guy who's extraordinarily unattractive, you don't look like you are like the male version of a 0 to a 3, it's going to be very hard for you to get any kind of quality woman. Right? It's going to be extremely hard for you to do that unless you have some kind of social status, and women want your status, then they don't want you. They want to be around your status. Which is fine if that's how you want to go about things. I don't hate on people who do that. But so that's an actual belief, right? That's an actual belief. And how do you beat that, though? What's the solution for actual limiting beliefs? Well, it's learning how to overcome those things. Learning how to overcome those things and change them. So a guy like that, what can he do? He could change his style. Maybe he could lose maybe a good 50, 100 pounds, comes down from 300 to 200 maybe. Now he's more attractive. I actually have a student who did this, a student who was severely overweight. Not when I met him, but he was overweight a while before. And this kid worked his ass off to get better looking, and now he's a pretty attractive kid. Like literally, it's like a massive transformation he had. And at the beginning, when he kind of started out in game, when he kind of found out about game, he was like, I can't take action because I'm super overweight and I don't look good. And seeing the old photos, I was like, maybe he's kind of right. He could still do game, sure, but he would just be met with a lot of fucking resistance because he's so unattractive. Now the kid actually can do game, and he can just go out and pretty much have a great time without worrying about that because he has conquered that part of his life. And he's still on the journey, actually. He's still crushing it, but he's on the path there, and he looks so much better. He literally went from like being a fucking 2-3 to now being a male 6 or 7. And I'm putting those rating systems so you guys can see what I'm saying. So that is essentially how you overcome actual beliefs. The solutions is correcting those actual limiting beliefs. Now, there are some limiting beliefs, and this is the majority of them actually. The majority of limiting beliefs that guys have are created limiting beliefs. Created limiting beliefs are beliefs that are not true. Things that actually don't affect your results. An example of that would be, I'm not good enough, or she's with the group won't like me, or she has a boyfriend, the girl is too busy, I don't know what to say next, things like that, or, you know, I'm nerdy, or I'm in my head all the time. Those are limiting beliefs that guys make up, not even on purpose. It's a subconscious thing, but they make it up to either avoid taking action or to soften the blow when they don't get results because they're just not good with women, right? Those are created limiting beliefs, and they're not actually true things. They're things you make up subconsciously. Now, some of them can be based on your previous experiences, but your previous experiences don't mean that what you're thinking of is necessarily true. It could be that you're just pretty fucking shit with women. These limiting beliefs, again, these these beliefs that you have that are created by yourself are beliefs that you need to fucking cut out. And the solution to deleting, eliminating, canceling out, crushing these limiting beliefs is taking aggressive action. That's honestly what it is. There's no mental little trick you can do. Now, again, we talked about it in the inner identity module, which was module number 2, and we'll talk more about it in later modules about your progression, you know, going forward. But there are things you can do in your personal life, but when it comes to women, the only solution is taking aggressive action. The only solution is actually aggressively correcting the course of your life and where you're going. That's the only solution to doing this, to crushing limiting beliefs. And that is something that I want you to do moving forward on this program. So now that you understand the false assumptions about game, you understand kind of what it is that you may be holding you back internally, kind of what the mental belief systems you have are that are holding you back internally. I want to get into talking about going out at night and what you can experience when you go out and meet women and how to structure your nights in a way that are going to get you closer to fucking winning. We'll go ahead and crack into that right now.